storage limitations, or can you just store?
I don't think that we'll exceed them.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start over. This is Libbytown Neighborhood Meeting, monthly meeting, July 22nd, 2020. I am Maureen Morse of Whitney Avenue, chairperson of this association. Welcome. And then I guess we'll introduce ourselves, starting with Zach. Who's at the top?
I'm Zach Barowitz, past chair of this organization. Live on Hunter Street, and I don't know. I have a report back from the Doherty Field meeting, and also and just hot off the presses update on the playground request for proposals. So those aren't already on the agenda.
I've added it to my handwritten agenda. All right, and John?
Hey guys, this is John Bradstreet of 7375 Douglas Street.
And Damon?
I'm Damon Yakovlev. I live on Bolton Street. I'm the treasurer of this organization.
And Fred?
I'm Fred Dillon. I live on Davis Street, and I'm the secretary of the group.
All right, and Eric, who is muted.
Yeah, let's, oh, there he is.
Eric, are you
We'll do
there?
it for him. Eric Anderson,
Yeah.
Douglas Street.
There you go. All right. So I guess we really only have 2 agenda items. I'm sorry I didn't send out an itemized agenda, but now I guess with Zach's additions, we have more. So do you want to start with the Doherty Field update, Zach? And then we can...
Sure. I just got a email from Nick. So I'm gonna share the screen.
You should be able to. I enabled it.
Okay, let me make sure there's nothing too embarrassing on my desktop. It's a very tight timeline. They're looking for proposals by August 15th, and this thing hasn't gone out apparently. So, and I have to say, you know, like at the Doherty Field thing, I didn't really give a very close reading to the RFP for the housing, and it was really terrible. So I'd like to give this a bit more scrutiny. So, so here, without further ado, is the email. Nick says, any comments? Hope this finds you well. We've been working on the purchasing office to refine the language for the Doherty Field Playground. Attached, you will find the final draft RFP and attachments for review. Please let us know by the end of the week if you have any questions or comments. We'd like to get this to bid shortly. So, just working backwards through the thingies. Let's get a bigger screen. So, here's existing conditions photographs. Kind of looks like Nebraska.
Kind of made it look better somehow.
Yeah. There's the future housing, and then the project area with a gold pin in it. I guess they've decided on this sort of bubblicious site plan for it. I don't see any objections. I don't know, not quite sure why it has to be this way, kind of kidney shaped.
Did Nick, as I recall, Nick described at the last meeting that there would, you know, there's going to be a lot of earth form. I forget the terms that he used, but it was going to be, you know, similar, you know, natural, kind of a natural feature, so to speak. Is that the case? Is that kind of written into this RFP?
Well, I just opened it. He just sent it to me, and I was just looking at it before the meeting, so I haven't really seen anything. So I'm just going backwards to the, you know, starting with the fun stuff.
Okay.
But I mean, I just don't see an absolute need for the road to go on both sides of it, the path to go on both sides. I don't necessarily see it as a problem, but I'm not sure why.
Well, it's a path, it's not a road, so it's not like it's going to intrude too much on.
No,
other
but I mean, I
engagement.
don't know. I mean, it could just go from sort of, slope right into the, right into it, or, have an earth form or something like that. Like I said, I don't see any, I don't have any real objections, but I don't see it as being absolutely necessary either. All right, so here it is.
So one other thing on that, Zach.
Yeah,
So are they definitely going to be building the loop driveway through the new development at West School site? It seems like that was included in that site plan you just showed us.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. The road leading out, the connecting with Douglas
Yeah.
side of the housing development.
which road?
To the left of the playgrounds.
Here?
No, where it
Oh,
says
here.
driveway. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like the access out of the new proposed housing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. I don't know what the hell that is.
It looks like the city's leaning toward building the loop through. I don't know.
Well, and it shows as existing as well, right? So that same loop
Is it this?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's all it is.
Right.
So I guess this is north.
Yep. Yeah, so it's oriented the same, is relatively the same, I think.
Okay.
So north there would be, yeah, and you can see the north arrow on the lower right there, more or less.
Yeah.
pointing straight
I
up.
mean, I don't necessarily see the need for this additional paving.
It could be stone dust too.
Yeah.
May not be paved.
Need $400,000 of insurance. Summary.
And this is Portland's RFP, right?
Yeah.
Right. CDBG funded, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And I suppose also some funding from the disposition of the land for the housing. Needs to be durable, enjoyable, all ages and abilities. Description prefers a hybrid style of playground that includes wood or similar play structures, no metal or plastic equipment, and natural play features and landform. The proposed playground may incorporate themes based on nature, animals, birds, fish, woodlands, ocean, mountains, etc., or local history, although a theme is not required. It's certainly giving a lot of poetic license to the vendors. Swings, jungle gym, climbing, embankment, slide, creative play elements, active play elements, interactive site features, bridges, tunnels, etc. Funding for the playground is through community development block grant. Yeah. Anticipates spring 2020. Must spend the funds by fall 2020. $125,000. Are we interested? Letter of transmittal. So understanding the scope, qualifications and experience. Project approach and work plan. Describe the proposed approach to completing this project form from design through installation. Budget statement, selection, project, okay, and here's the breakdown of how it
Will be scored, yeah.
how it would be scored. Coordination with playground's visual appearance and layout. Company history and equipment safety. Value for budget. Interviews may be held with select companies that best meet the above criteria. Reevaluation will be done following the interview. Successful proposers shall be awarded a contract to furnish, supply, and install the selected play equipment and safety surface tiles. The city reserves the right to negotiate the qualities and the scope of the proposal with the bidder. Equal opportunity, reservation of rights, this kind of contracty stuff, I guess. You have to include this thing if you're bidding. So what do people think?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's standard kind of, right? The city's got probably a boilerplate RFP format that they use, and I mean, I think, is Nick going to be closely involved in this? Because it seems like he's got, you know, he's got skin in the game. They've got kids, right, or a kid, and I know, and I guess others of us are also involved. Damon, I know you're going to be otherwise engaged here pretty quickly, and you've got kids as well. Not to say that I don't care about kids, although I'm now an empty nester, so so I have less skin in the game, I guess. I want kids to have fun, but I guess the question is, do we feel like we've got some good representatives kind of overseeing or riding herd on this for us?
I don't see any opportunity for anyone to be, Nick or anyone else, to really have much input on this.
Oh, really? Okay. So maybe that's, can we voice that concern then and say we want more opportunity for input potentially, or how do we do that if
A meeting with the community or a public meeting?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if I'm understanding you right, because I mean, I guess we would ultimately, we'd like to be able to influence the outcome and what ends up, being put in the ground there, I guess, right? And if that's the case, then what's the best way for us to maybe have some influence in that regard?
This is Eric. Could part of the proposal be that whoever bid on it and built it would have like a community meeting and present the plan and get input before they build it?
I would say maybe 2. I mean, this is, it's a community prefers a hybrid style of playground that includes wood or similar play structures, equipment, and natural play features and landform. The proposed playground may incorporate themes based on nature, and then they tell us what nature is: animals, bird, fish, woodlands, ocean, mountains, etc., or local history. I mean, and then, like.
I assume that's all information that they culled from the poll that the survey that they sent around.
Yeah, but I mean, quite boiled down, or maybe diluted.
And it's pretty vague in terms of what would that actually build. Like, that seems like it would cover a lot.
Yeah, I mean, particularly if you have local history or natural features, and then I mean, I suppose you could, so I mean, I just sort of thinking out loud, and it seems like, maybe one meeting, public meeting beforehand to bounce around ideas, and then a second meeting to kind of present what they've come up with. And hopefully that's not too much. 125,000 doesn't seem like a huge amount of money. I mean, it's almost like we could raise some money for this, stupid thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the skate park, right? I mean, I can't remember, but I thought that was in the hundreds of thousands, right? Back in, and that's granted, that's different, and I can see why it would be probably more expensive because of the nature of the the construction, and then the the thingies themselves, you know, the whatever it is, the half pipes or whatever the things the skateboarders do. No offense to any skateboarders out there. I'm not a skateboarder, but I think there was a fundraising component. Remember Eli Care was really involved in that. Dave Marshall too, back in the day, I think. So, so this is a much more modest, you know, kind of by comparison, just in terms of cost, right? And maybe that's appropriate, but it does seem like you say, Zach, it does seem like they're trying to just jam it through. And maybe they, you know, to be somewhat sympathetic to the city staff, they're probably just jammed up with stuff as well. But and it's just they just want to try and get, you know, kind of get it.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that trying to get it done, you know, fall 2020. I mean, they have to.
Right.
Zach, do you have a sense of if it sounds like there's a tight timeline on RFPs, and my internet was bad, so maybe you already addressed this, but it sounds like there's a tight turnaround for people to come back with proposals. Do you have a sense, and there's not really much time for everything to happen, do you have a sense of what happens if there's no good RFPs or nobody bids, no good proposals?
Well, the city is required to demonstrate significant progress and expend playground funds by fall 2020.
And if they don't, they may have to turn the money back to the CDBG program.
That would be awesome.
I'm not saying this is the case necessarily, but sometimes when an RFP is put out without much time associated with it, the person or entity putting it out has a pretty good idea of who they want to bid on it. So they might already sort of have that lined up, potentially. Not saying they do.
I mean, it occurred to me because 3 weeks isn't, you know, I mean, 2 weeks. You can't reasonably expect
Right.
anyone to respond.
Right, but again, do the math in terms of, you know, kind of reverse engineer it. If they've got to spend a substantial sum by the fall of 2020, does that, I mean, are we defining fall as right up until December 21st? Or, you know, from, you know what I mean? Or construction season. So practically speaking, probably mid to late November is when they could be doing some work out there, I guess. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I guess there's still time. I mean, if this thing slowed down a little bit and it would allow for more public input, maybe there is more opportunity. They don't need to have it so, you know, have the RFPs back by mid-August as they're proposing.
Well, I mean, is required to demonstrate significant progress. You know, if you have a design and schedule in place, I would call that significant progress.
Right.
Expend playground funds by fall 2020. All the playground funds?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
pay up front? It's not really good practice to pay up front 100%.
Right. And yeah, I'm sure
You
they
know,
probably
usually 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
right. They wouldn't do that. I mean, the purchasing guidelines wouldn't let them do that, I don't think.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
how
the city
you
of
know, how they
Portland's
gonna-
pretty careful about that kind of thing, procurement and sticking to the agreements like that.
Well, so what is that? I would put a red line under that word expend.
So what do we do? I mean, can we just say can we slow this down just a little bit, time out, and we feel like this is going a little bit faster than we'd like, and we're afraid that what ends up getting put in isn't going to be reflective of what people really want.
I mean, I think we could massage the language of the features, components, and of the description. The site design incorporates a loop path that accesses the playground from the above at grade. You know, I mean, I think we could, you know, if that $125,000, that loop path is 8,000. That's, you know, I mean, I said I have nothing against the loop path. I'm just, you know, I don't see why it should be required, and you know, and maybe, you know, so if we can sort of like come up with alternative language here, and then add schedule of work, add a couple of community meetings, you know, public meetings, not just Libbytown, because this is got to be a focal point for the whole region. people coming from Stores, Connecticut. So anyway, that's
how has Nick commented any on this yet? I know you just got his email, so probably not, but
yeah.
you need to ping him a little bit on it because he seemed like he had some pretty strong feelings about it. And Damon,
Yeah.
maybe you do as well. I don't know.
I'm gonna have a beer with him about something else tomorrow. Be my first beer, I think, out at Bunker, and so I'll talk to him about it then.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I think Nick seems to feel more strongly about it than a lot of people, so he
Yeah.
might be. He might
But
be
in the meantime, like
about-
Eric and Damon and anyone else, if you have thoughts on this, this, I think it's a little goofy, this description.
I don't mind the description as much personally because it feels pretty vague. But I guess if we get the meetings and like have a chance to influence the final product, that seems like the most important part to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And so if there was just like one ask that we highlighted, that would be mine. And then all of the things we're talking about, could come up potentially at that meeting.
Yeah, I don't think the description's a big issue. I'd like this to get out. I think it's fine. It's not perfect, but it's better to let it get out than to delay it and risk jeopardizing the whole project. And then
Oh, but adding public meetings would delay it anyway.
Well, yes, but maybe not if that's a little bit further down the line and it can be planned for. But I don't know. I feel like delaying the RFP itself is not necessarily going to help.
And also like incorporate themes based on nature or local history. We could be a little more specific on, on those things.
Well, let's just get a public meeting to get that info,
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so if we could fold that into the RFP, right? So they have to build that into their, and maybe there's a cost associated with it, but I think that's probably pretty marginal in the grand scheme of things. 125 is not a lot of money. I can't think a couple of public meetings are going to break the bank, so yeah,
Yeah.
that would be
Maybe we can even allocate $1,000 for the main med grant to,
yeah, if need be, sure.
just to
Well-
pay for make it worth their while.
Yeah.
All right.
So next steps, do we, is it Alex? Who's the fellow that's running this for the city?
Yeah. Alex
Can we just
Marshall.
reach out to him directly and say, hey, Alex, can you do us a solid and stick a couple of meetings in there and then we take it from there, basically?
Yeah, I'll talk to Nick first, see what he thinks.
Right on, okay.
But
Okay.
should we take any vote or position?
I mean, we could say we are going to vote to attempt to have public meetings added to the RFP. Is that sort of the goal?
Sure. I make a motion that we ask to have meetings added to the RFP.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Awesome. So moved.
Unanimous.
Yeah.
Zach,
Good
you'll talk-
idea.
well, why don't we have you talk to, if you're going to meet with Nick anyway, why don't we have you do that first and then we'll sort of decide
Yeah.
what to do from there?
Yeah.
Because maybe he'll have some insight that'll make it an easier process. But I'll put that. And I just realized, Damon, I'm so sorry we skipped over the treasurer's report.
Oh, that's okay. I
I
figured
put it at the bottom because I thought you were going to be late. But
I figured that's what you do. Yeah. Not a lot to report. We did pretty well with our clink bag the last month. We had $50.25 come in.
Mhm.
So that brings our overall available balance to $241.79. And so if you if you need a clink bag, I guess let me know. Maybe Fred, if you put that in the minutes, I can get them to drop them off for people. So
Yeah, thanks. Actually, Nikki dropped some off for me recently, so thanks for that.
yeah, sure, absolutely. It's easy to do. Yeah, I'll just keep that up and bring us in a little money, and if we need to use it for something, we can do that.
Maybe I
Excellent.
should post the facsimile edition of the Libbytown reunion, 1986 reunion, on Facebook or something.
Yeah, that brought in, what was it, $20 or something for each one,
I think it was,
or 15?
I think just 10 each.
Honestly, 11 for some reason. I don't know why that number's popped into my head.
$10.99. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Excellent. And then I guess we can talk about the Jack Soley stuff. Did anyone go to the Economic Development Committee meeting last night? Was there anything new to report from there? Do you mind enlightening me?
Yeah. The meeting went on for hours and hours. They went through, there were 3 parcels of land that they're looking at, and the Douglas Street was last. The councilors had not read through the proposals, and so they didn't understand them at all, and were asking, you know, they were saying, well, we don't really understand this. We need more time. We need another meeting. And it's like, and I suppose in fairness to them, city staff had sort of bundled it all into a 400-page packet with the summary on page 135.
Oh my goodness.
So, you know, it was a little embarrassing. There seemed to be a, the city bias towards the Soley Herbert Avesta project because, well, we had met with Jack Soley, and he had made the point that he's more economically ready to go and has a proven model, and there's no record of the cooperative housing working in Maine, ignoring the fact that it's worked other places. Tay gave towards the end, gave a sort of impassioned speech in favor of the Xanten, Trice, Bryaning, Aceto plan on the basis of immigrants and people of color having the opportunity to build wealth. That proposal has a greater emphasis on. Vesta had some couple of African people, African New Mainers, speak in favor. I spoke to someone afterwards and said, "Oh, I would have told them they couldn't make. I would have told them to not to speak in favor," but that was fairly persuasive. Charlie made a quite good statement that, you know, he was disappointed that this happening and preferred it to be sports fields, but since it is happening, he's very supportive of the Xanten Bryaning co-housing model or proposal. You know, and you know, if the solely Avesta thing happens, I'm fine. I'm happy. I think it's a good proposal and everything else. I just didn't feel like it was a fair playing field, and it was obvious that the council and I suppose staff too didn't really do their homework. So it was kind of a arduous 3 hours.
So was the
Maybe even
conclusion,
more.
Zach,
4
then
hours.
another meeting? You mentioned earlier that they requested another meeting because there was just too much to digest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
then
mean, Nick Mavadona's like, well, we're the finance committee, so we really should be evaluating this on finances, and I just don't know how to evaluate this on finances, so I think we need another meeting. And Jill Dewson says, well, I'm going to ask the Dewson question, which is, if we have another meeting, what will change between now and the next meeting to necessitate having a second meeting? I think she was getting a little ticked off. With the finance committee. Spencer, I think, was ready to vote for the Avesta thing. Tay made a strong speech for the Xanten, as I said. Mavadonis typically played it close to the vest, and Costa seemed happy to go with the prevailing winds, which was to postpone.
so that's the outcome. They postpone, and they're going to decide again, presumably, or recommend presumably next month.
I don't know about if they were going to make any recommendations, but they were going to get more information. Tay made they made the point. It's like, well, what are the taxes? What are the future considerations for the city down the line? And I said, well, Avesta, this is $5 million over 20 years or something like that. And then Tay said, well, how much are we going to be looking at? With more children, there's more money from the state for the schools. And, and how do you put a value on people coming from lower income people having the opportunity to build wealth? What's the dollar value of that? There was someone from Stroudwater was quite good speaking on the Xanten plan, saying that she would sell a place because she would just love to live in such a model community like this. Whereas someone, Ali Malone, a realtor who lives near here, spoke in favor of, she was very articulate, they both were, spoke in favor of the Avesta plan, and particularly the ADUs, and said, a lot of people in my cohort, we got our start by buying a 2-unit, which, for a lot of us, a 2-unit is sort of like a goal, not a start.
Right.
So as I said, I'd be happy with either one, but I just didn't feel like the process is terribly fair. So I tend to be more sympathetic to the Xanten group.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Avesta seems like the one that they would go with, but I mean, seems like some of them are interested in the Xanten project. I think either one would be not a bad thing.
I mean, the housing committee was more interested in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then Liz and Brian also did a proposal for Lambert Street, and that went into so that's going into negotiations. So if it's going to be like the treaties of Malta or whatever it is, that looks to be could be their consolation prize.
So what is the decision-making process, Zach? Do you know for this? The councilors vote and then that's it, it's a done deal? Or is this, does it sort of go through committees and then somebody else decides based on a recommendation?
Yeah, I mean, they have to sort of get through a recommendation. The housing committee probably should have made a recommendation. It would have held a little more sway with the finance committee, but they didn't, I think, because they wanted the finance committee's input, but then the finance committee kind of had maybe, ulterior motives, and so then the finance committee didn't give a recommendation. So
then who are they recommending to? Like, who's the final decider here?
then they would recommend it to the council,
Full council, right? So
to the full council. Yeah.
is that finance committee, or sorry, just so I'm clear, is economic development synonymous with finance, or is that?
Oh,
different?
no, that was, I believe, the Economic Development Committee.
Okay. So ultimately, will there be a recommendation from one of those committees to the full council to help inform their decision?
I mean, I don't know. Ideally, it should be from both committees.
Hmm.
I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Yeah. What are you making, Eric?
He's got a whisk full of something.
I'm making sriracha butter that's going to go on grilled corn.
Mm.
Ooh,
Quite
wow.
delicious.
That sounds fabulous.
That sounds awesome. So just to give an update on, we had gotten a lot of information from Liz Trice about her proposal, the co-op housing development. Jack Soley had given us kind of like a drawing. So he requested a meeting, we met with him. So I actually can share my screen now because my Gmail started working. So I can show you guys.
When was that meeting, Maureen? Just a couple of days ago?
It was on Sunday.
So what was the date for that? Sorry, that's like the 18th? I think
It
it was the 18th or something like that. Sorry.
was the 19th.
Oh, thank you.
And so basically they just had some more, we met with him and Nate from Avesta Housing, and they sort of presented some information, some additional information about their proposal, some of which we already knew, but they're planning on 40 rental units, 30 condos. The rental units, 24 will be 50% of AMI, 16 units at 60%, and then some market rate ones, I assume. And then condos, and then single family homes with each with an ADU. And this is sort of a refined version of the sketch that he sent us. We did talk about the buffering between the existing homes and the new builds, and he seems pretty open to whatever people want, whether it's fencing or treescapes or bushes or some combination of those things. He seemed pretty open to people's input on that. And yeah, it's a lot of solar. I think it was 74% parking or something exact. Or Damon, do you remember?
Yeah, the ratio was 0.75.
0.75.
Yep.
Parking spaces, which I guess is about as low as they can get it currently.
Yeah, they said that they're definitely open to lower, but they didn't think the planning board would go for it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the notes here. I could take some. I mean, yeah, it seemed like a reasonable proposal. They had some things we've talked about being priorities for us in there, such as some of the amenities, trying to reduce parking as much as they can. So I don't know. I guess I'd agree with everyone else who said that it seems basically like both proposals offer a lot.
Yeah, there would be a community meeting space and an outdoor community pavilion space.
A dog park, dog run, I guess is what it was. And
yeah,
then a
and
community garden.
Community garden and possible food forest, solar arrays, that kind of stuff. So
it actually sounds like the meeting room for the Avesta proposal might be slightly better, and that it would be a room that would definitely be available that could be booked out. Whereas with the other proposal, they were a little more wishy-washy on it, I thought, where
it was more sort of owner focused, I think. Even maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but it was a little bit more like you needed to get permission to, you had to kind of ask to use it, and they may or may not grant permission. Whereas this one would be more like you just sign up for it and you can use it.
Yeah. So I mean, from the point of view of the residents, though, I feel like the other model might be better. But from the point of view of the neighborhood, people who don't live in the new development, that sounded a little bit better potentially.
Yep. And then they were sort of open to the idea, I thought, of a shared street. They're sort of, they have a similar layout, as you can see, to the other Oh my God, I'm sorry, my computer. So you can see they have sort of a median, like a middle street running through that has parking on it and also the home space. But he seemed open to the kind of shared street concept, I thought. It's not quite as, the other one I thought seemed a little bit more kind of European almost in its design, where it was meant to be shared by bikes and cars and people, rather than just being a street. But
Yeah, I've got a funny joke, just a quick one. Maybe it'll make Zach smile. If you're French in the kitchen, what are you when you're in the bathroom?
I know.
European. So,
that is
Okay.
a bad joke.
I mean,
I've
scroll.
not heard that one, but I'll have to file that one away.
I can't believe you've not heard that one. You must be, you're being facetious. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
I have one. I'll just tell you the punchline.
Okay.
Himalayan.
Oh yeah, so something to do with being in a bedroom, maybe, or I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah.
How about, all right, one last one, really bad. This is a great kids joke for those of you that have kids, and it sounds like it's going to be a really dirty joke, but it's not. What's brown and sticky? A stick.
All right. Good one.
Sorry, enough nonsense. Thanks.
So scroll up, Maureen.
Mhm.
The jokes are really corny.
I know. It's all,
How
that's
high?
all I
You
got.
had to.
Oh, back to the site plan. So yeah, I mean, you know, like Nick's site plan is just, it's similar, but just so much better.
Mhm.
You know, with the one-off rather than the parking right down the middle. I mean, you know, that's,
Mhm.
and then they put this little plaza in kind of in between the parking place and the Avesta building, which I said that's, you know, typically that would be where the drug dealers hang out. And, you know, just kind of a poor placement of that.
Well, I certainly don't think people who, if the idea is that it's for anyone, I don't know that I would go behind someone's apartment building to like hang out at a pavilion and feel.
No, I mean, I
comfortable.
doubt that it would happen that way, but
Yeah.
like, you know, when you go by housing projects, that's sort of like, oh yeah, you know, right? Can kind of avoid them. You know, there it is right there.
Mhm.
One thing I notice here, it looks like they have more awareness of what the playground layout is going to be in this than the Stanton proposal did. I don't know, was there some kind of coordination between the city and whoever put this site plan together? With more
don't know.
coordination?
I mean, considering Nick Aceto is on the other team, I'd be surprised if they knew more, but I guess Nick doesn't necessarily know.
Well, that just came out. It wasn't necessarily public
True.
knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
Yeah.
wondering if
Mm.
maybe the city prefers this. That's some kind of tell that the city prefers this plan.
I mean, we don't know yet, do we? I mean, I get the sense just from hearing you folks talk that it's a foregone conclusion, but is it? I mean, in terms of which development team gets the nod on this?
I don't get the impression it's a foregone conclusion, but I don't know.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think that the city had wanted it for Avesta from the beginning and tailored the RFP for them, and they're getting a particularly strong challenge from the Xanten group in this sort of like, you know, they kind of retrenched a little bit to kind of figure out how it happened. But, you know, maybe I'm just being a little bit too political about it.
Are you one of those deep staters?
Maybe.
Sorry. Okay. More
And
corny.
he pointed out when he showed us this that this sort of dotted line here is meant to indicate, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
like what they would like to be a street, like made into a street. But when we asked them if that was happening, he said not necessarily. So I don't know.
Well, maybe it could be like the emergency access thing at the end of Sewell Street, just around the corner from me, you know what I mean? Which I think might not be a bad idea necessarily. But
Well, and I do remember a while back, maybe a year or more ago, there was at least one person who, when we were talking about housing being proposed here, was very adamant that it not be like a cul-de-sac, that it have through access so that it wouldn't be like cut off from the rest of the neighborhood. So, I mean, I think that would be something people would want.
Yeah.
just to connect it, so that it wasn't just a dead end. But I guess we'll see. So then they gave us some financial information that I had not seen before.
I mean, I think this is the real raison d'etre for the
Yeah.
meeting.
So there would have a higher purchase price than the Stanton Group, and they would require less city financing, or no city financing, I guess. So they sort of pointed that out. The tax stuff I don't know as much about, I'll be honest. They would be taking out a TIF for the rental housing only, and that would be the only request for city funds. And I guess they've got the financing for the condos ready so that if they were chosen, the condos could start right away, pretty much right away, or whatever the city's version of right away is, and the rest would follow. So there's that as well.
The condos, I guess, would be these bright-built homes by Jesse Thompson or Thompson Kaplan Architects. And Kaplan Thompson, they're like passive house, they're kind of a, I don't know, sort of a hot boutique firm, maybe. I like Jesse Thompson a lot. He's very funny. Can't say I'm friends with him, but I think he's very smart. And so they're bright built homes. They're sort of prefab program that they have, where they have half a dozen or so, maybe more, basic designs with names like Little Diamond and Great Diamond and Vinyl Haven, and they're made in a factory in Maine. Come in on a truck, and it's it's sort of a more efficient way of building than sticks and
Stick built,
the
right.
weather.
Are they pretty affordable?
The single family homes, was it the condos as well?
The bright build is for I think just a single family. The condos would be pretty much plonking the thing on Paris Street over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking at their website right now, and you're right, Zach. They've got a Little Diamond is 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Great Diamond is 3.5 bedroom, and 2.5 to 3.5 bath, or maybe it's 3 to 5 bedroom actually. And then there's an in-law guest house, which is kind of intriguing, 1 to 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. Interesting, huh?
And I guess with these, the insulation is already built into the walls, so it's all really nice and tight. Every fastener that goes into the wall is put in the right spot and the right tension, and it's meant to be meant to be a improvement in housing construction. Haley, your dad's an architect, right? So there you have it.
So that was sort of the financials they laid out, and then these are sort of their, I don't know what you'd say, talking point, their sort of pitch for why theirs is the better, why they think they have the better proposal. When they say fits with surrounding neighborhood, they mostly mean the height, as far as I can tell. It's because there's not really any unifying type of house in this neighborhood, I don't think. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 different kinds you see repeated and stuff, but I think it means more that they're planning on 3 stories so that it doesn't exceed the height of the tallest building on Douglas, so it fits with the landscape. And they're sort of drawing on their experience having built this kind of thing before, and the energy efficiency and all of that. There's a significant amount of solar array included. I can't remember how much was in the Xanten proposal, but I don't know if it's comparable or if there's more or less in one or the other. And I think that's about it. And then pictures of happy people. So yeah, so that's pretty much that. I just wanted to share that with everyone since that was sort of new since we last talked.
Yeah, good info. Thank you.
All right.
And thanks, Zach, to you also for braving that 3-hour committee meeting or whatever it was.
I think it was 4 hours. And Jack Soley, he said he got the address, the names of their abutters from Maureen.
I didn't give him any names.
Oh, he didn't? Didn't he say?
No. Not yet. I didn't want to talk to. I don't just give people's names out without talking to them.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was interested in reaching out.
He wanted to reach out, and I told him I would
Yeah.
contact people and see if they were interested in talking to him.
Okay.
That's what I remember too.
Yeah. No, I haven't done it yet, but I figured I wanted to sort of talk about it in the meeting before doing anything else. So I figured I'd reach out to a few people. Anyone who's interested in talking to him about it. We don't know what proposal is going to be chosen, so it may or may not be productive. But he does seem interested in. I mean, he's already changed the name because of comments he got about the previous name. So he seems interested in people's feedback, at least to some extent. So that's that. And then other than that, only the exit 5 ramp removal stuff was the only other thing that I had on the agenda, which.
The shelter letter.
Oh, and the shelter letter. And that's been sent around. And I thought it looked good. I don't know how other people feel.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the discussion we had was a good one. We ended up taking something that was relatively mild, moving it up to, I think Zach called it the rated R version, where we kind of called them out a little bit more. And then we bumped it back down to something that was a little bit more moderate, the PG-13 version. That's what Zach called it, I think.
Yeah.
So that's good. The reason is we don't want to unnecessarily antagonize them, but also there are issues with the process, and we do need to felt like we need to recognize
Are we
that.
talking about the shelter or exit 5 now?
Yeah, the shelter.
The shelter, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm good with it, with what was sent to the listserv by Zach on Monday, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about putting in language of a super committee, recommending a super committee as sort of a halfway point between what we have now and a task force by combining the housing and health and human services into one super committee. This is signed for super committee, and but I kind of figured, coming from us, it doesn't. It'd probably give it a greater reason to be rejected. So I'm trying to get it to come from counselors to make that recommendation to the mayor. I'm not terribly optimistic though.
It's certainly a hot button item right now because did you guys see, I had seen on Instagram earlier, but Carrie sent out something to the group. They're having a big sit-in essentially, because there's been a lot of talk about all the people in Deering Oaks Park in the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's been in the news.
Certainly something that's on it's after being kind of dormant for a while. I think the issue is poised to come back up. So I think it's a good time to reiterate our position.
There's a very public feud between Preble Street and the city, or at least the mayor perhaps and the manager. Not sure how other city staff have been involved, but or the councilors for that matter, other than Councilor Ray, who's also made some comments about Preble Street. So it doesn't seem like I don't know what the word is, toxic maybe. It's a kind of a toxic relationship there. And I think that's really unfortunate. And I think we need to do better as a city. I think a more constructive approach is needed, not this kind of squabbling and blaming and finger pointing.
Yeah,
I'm disappointed with the city.
Yeah. Well, a more compassionate response would have been better, just because we're losing in all of this. There's the people who need help are being looked over for these sort of personal contentions between people and organizations. So it's really unfortunate, but hopefully we can make some positive progress. I'm hoping.
The city just put out a statement. city continues to serve homelessness people while responding to issues in Deering Oaks Park. And then it said, the city of Portland continues to compassionately serve people experiencing homeless. So anytime someone puts in an adverb in a sentence like that, you know, it's, you know, they're being a little defensive. If you're serving people, you know.
Yeah, we don't assume you're serving them knuckle sandwiches. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to state that.
Yeah.
Ethan Hipple served a like a vacate order or something to Preble Street, and Preble Street responded by saying, "Okay." I mean, they could have just asked. So you
That's
know,
exactly what I'm
that
talking
member of
about.
city staff, you know, did get involved for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, he was directed to do so, I would assume.
Yeah.
Well,
There was
um,
Margaret had some feedback to either reiterate or reaffirm or that we like the Florence House, Logan Place models.
I don't think it hurts to add a sentence about that.
Should we add that as a third point?
Sure.
All right, motion.
Second.
Well, I guess the motion would be to send the letter as amended, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
All right. We're good at this, guys. So tired. All right.
Yeah.
And then I guess, did anyone want to talk about Exit 5, or is it, we're getting, we're at an hour, so we're not.
I'll give a brief update. You guys sick of hearing me talking? Liz Trice and Brian Eng and I met with GP Cog. I think it was a good meeting. It was somewhat discursive. You know, they kind of said, well, we don't really act, you know, without the guidance of governments, and they have all these governing boards from the municipalities that they represent. You know, they have like a guiding board and a transportation board and a economic development, you know, all these different boards. I guess the people who represent Portland for them are on various boards are Chris Branch, Public Works Director, Bruce Hyman on transportation, and then Belinda Ray as the sort of main person. It's like, oh, great. So and they sort of said, you know, well, you know, we should really reach out to Councillor Chong and try to get the city, you know, kind of to put a little weight behind this issue with COG. And I haven't really done that because I'm kind of ruminating on it a little bit. One interesting that did come out of the meeting was we were talking about the NEPRA the train station really wants to move off of Thompson's Point. And so they're talking about the various places it might move. They're down to 4, which I believe is staying where it is, behind where the old train station was, which was their preference, Christine's preference. Down across from Metro, I guess. And then the 4th one they didn't know, but maybe it was over by Bunker. That's been talked about. And so she has Christina Egan has a transportation background, and so we kind of try to, you know, talk up the transit aspects as much as possible, and how great it would be to, you know, kind of have housing and really build a link between the bus station and St. John Street and everything else. And and the train station sort of emerged as a key element in that, as a transportation node, not just a modal form.
So it's an emphasis on transit-oriented development,
Yeah, but
right?
isn't that sort of what I remember Bruce Hyman once describing the grand vision for Thompson's Point as being transit, instead of transit-oriented development, he called it transit proximal development, I think. So maybe it's not ideal, but I mean, we have the bus and the train down there now, right? And
Be right
then,
back.
so it seems like, so those other locations that you mentioned, Zach, Bunker and or the old Union Station, which would be really kind of a cool thing, you know, St. John Street, those are viable options as well, potentially?
I mean, they're on the short list.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me make a note to reach out to my man at NEPRA. Note made.
So,
Eric and Haley, have you started eating corn slathered in that sriracha butter yet? Oh man. Ay, ay, ay.
so I guess,
Meetings as like a potluck, I guess, where people can bring food.
so is there any other action needed right now, Zach, on the exit 5 stuff, or is it all just sort of, we're just waiting and seeing?
I mean, I reached out to Grayson Lookner,
Mhm.
my new Fred and I's new state rep, and so he's into it. What?
There is a Republican opponent, so he's the Democratic nominee. Just come on,
Correct. Thank
making
you.
sure we're not being overly partisan here.
Yes. All right, I stand corrected. And then Sam Zager said, hey, why don't we get together with Grayson and Libbytown and do a walking tour of the site? I said, great, let's also include Rachel Talbot Ross. And so so we should think about scheduling that, I guess.
That's great. And Sam was unopposed, so he will be the representative. So, I mean, there's no Republican nominee or a nominee from any other party.
Barring act of God.
I suppose someone could mount a write-in campaign, but
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
He could expire.
Possible, always possible.
All right.
I also think it would be good to get them to some of our meetings. It's good to have a good relationship with the legislators. So
I've been meaning to reach out. I've just had a crazy week, so I will reach out to them both and congratulate them and invite them to our meetings.
yeah, I think that'd be good. I suppose we could invite the Republican. I don't know. I don't remember their name.
I can look it up. All right, it's on the list. Anything else?
I was just going to make a note that the Charter Commission Charter Reform passed with flying colors, which is interesting because it's a big progressive agenda item, but then a lot of the power in the city is more centrist, and also they get to appoint a number of their commissioners to the Charter Commission. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays
Yeah,
out.
the council is going to make some decisions soon about exactly what the process is going to be because they have some flexibility around that. For example, I think will be able to decide if it's going to be ranked choice voting, or if it will be plurality. Like, there's a few things that we don't know about the process yet that will hopefully become clear soon.
Right, and the implications of that are pretty big, right? I mean, part of the push behind it was to again, return to the idea of whether or not the mayor should have, even though we have a paid mayor's staff position now, that that person should be invested with more authority to actually make day-to-day decisions on behalf of city departments. Is that right?
I think there's differing opinions. I think basically people voted for it who were not satisfied with the status quo. Some people are not satisfied with the status quo because they think the mayor is not powerful enough and the city manager is too powerful. Others probably think that we shouldn't bother having an elected mayor at all and we should just go back to the old system with council and manager.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I thought it was more the former rather than the latter, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think people who voted,
Oh.
who like the city manager thing, probably want to leave well enough alone by, majority of those people with the status quo. It was got on the ballot because of a push for public financing of elections, which the city council didn't want. So they kind of dared them to put it to referendum and lost the bet, as far as I understand.
Yeah. So there'll be a lot on the ballot in November, including members of this charter commission, 5 ballot questions from People First Portland, and then president, and Senate, the huge Senate race. It's going to be a pretty exciting run up to the election, which makes me wonder if we should do anything as a neighborhood organization. I don't know, maybe.
I was thinking about that too. Maybe something like a kind of a voter guide or some sort of like a bunch of resources that we could put together to help people make informed choices, especially people who may not be able to. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of different things to wade through. So we could sort of, I don't know, like a Cliff's Notes or something about.
Yeah, there's going to be probably some other organizations putting up some voter guides, but I think it'd make sense to link people to them all in sort of a
and not necessarily write it ourselves, but create some sort of a resource center, like a bunch of links to those kinds of things that could help them, because a lot of people just don't know what there's just too much to figure out,
And particularly if we could do it somehow in a different way than throwing out these, questions on, your 9 boilerplate issues and getting, long, carefully worded answers. If we can come up with something that would make, that would be different from, why is this voter guide different from all other voter guides?
Yeah. The other thing is there aren't going to be a lot of local races. The one that we might want to have a forum on would potentially be the Charter Commission representative from District 3, and maybe the at-large ones. So I don't know if we'd want to put together a forum on that. I'm assuming we're still going to be doing almost everything remote for at least, I don't know, call it the next 6 months or so, maybe.
I feel like at this point we're in a better, I feel like the last election, it was just sort of like we were still getting used to the whole Zoom thing, and I don't know, there's so a lot going on. I feel like this time with a little bit of forethought, we could come up with something dynamic that would be worth watching for people.
Maybe we should just pencil it in for October to do something with the Charter Commission representative, assuming that it's a competitive election even. I assume it would be. There's a lot of people who are going to be interested in influencing this thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a good idea. So we'll plan on sort of feeling that out and maybe thinking about creating like a resource, like some kind of a consolidated resource for people who want to know more about, how they want to vote.
And I mean, I guess it's unspoken but understood that we're supposed to be largely apolitical. But I mean, is there ever a time when we actually do we do endorsements, or is that just that's not cool because it just is? Again, we're trying to maintain impartiality, at least in in principle, if not in practice.
We haven't ever made an endorsement.
Yeah, I don't personally feel comfortable making political endorsements through the neighborhood association. I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but
No, I agree.
Fine with like endorsing projects like we did for the playground or the, you know what I mean, or the housing
Mhm.
going in at West School, but I don't know. But I don't know how it's traditionally been done in the neighborhood. Fred, you might know better how it used to be.
No, I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, the neighborhood organization is just so much more, has so much more oomph than when I was kind of trying to put it together. So, I mean, with you guys involved, it's just been so much better. So really, the recent history is more important and more telling, I think, than, yeah, we never had the wherewithal to even think about, having, I think this group has become much more influential, and I think impartial is probably better, at least, again, in principle, if not in practice.
I'd agree. I think I'd definitely be very hesitant to ever endorse candidates.
Mhm.
Causes, or like Maureen was saying, specific projects or positions, I think we could take specific positions.
Yeah, shelter is a great example. I mean, you guys did a great job with the shelter, I think, and that,
Yeah.
yeah.
We might want to occasionally take a position on a referendum question. I don't want to close the door on that entirely.
Mhm.
I think that's a little bit of a different matter than endorsing a candidate where if that person doesn't win, you create some bad blood.
Right.
Yeah.
Where a position is, I don't know, I feel like that's more black and white or something. I don't know. We'd have to talk about it more.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Bit
could we take
more.
a position on elected mayor or campaign finance, public financing for city council elections? Or on the whether to vote yes or no on the charter. It seems a little far-fetched at this moment in time, but
Right. I mean, although you can almost
could leave the
envision,
door open a crack.
depending on how dystopian things continue to get, like, let's say Customs and Border Patrol agents come to Portland, I mean, do we take a position on that with respect to Black Lives Matter or something like that? I mean, really, I mean, and that's not
Sure, we could.
far-fetched.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel comfortable taking positions on those kinds of things if we have a consensus that we want to make an official position.
Yeah,
on
it's not a political position in that case. It's a
Well,
policy.
wearing a mask is a political position now, so.
It shouldn't be though.
Ugh.
Yeah,
I will say
okay.
one thing on COVID. It's definitely out there. I know somebody who got it recently, and so there's definitely community transmission in Cumberland County. No question
I've got
about
a
it.
very
So.
close friend who miraculously survived it. His mom was killed by it, and he
Mhm.
works in the city of South Portland. He recovered amazingly, and
I can't believe you recovered. I know who you're talking about. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's good.
yeah. So at any rate, yeah, it's definitely real. I mean, it's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I always encourage if people who are running for office reach out and want to attend the meetings, I encourage them to do that. But I always say that it would be as a participant, not as like a campaign opportunity. That's what our forums are for. It's sort of so that you'll see people. Sam Zager came to a bunch of meetings, but he didn't like stump during them. So I've been contacted by a few people who wanted to do that, and I just said we don't really do that.
Oftentimes that's more effective.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's the thing. If you can show some knowledge about something that's relevant to our community, I think that's more important to me than you telling me why you should be elected for other reasons that aren't sort of relevant. So at any rate, but I'm always open to how people, if people feel differently and want to discuss it, I'm always open to that.
Just thought it'd be worth mentioning and revisiting on occasions.
Yeah. Absolutely. Everything it's getting harder and harder to find issues that aren't political. So, but we will persevere. All right. Does anyone have anything else to add?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Yeah. See you next month, I guess.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I'll send out. I'll remind sooner. I know I this month got away from me a little bit, and I apologize.
What's our date? Do we have a date yet, or is it going to be the Wednesday?
We've been doing the third Wednesday of every month, so
Fourth-
that would be
Fourth Wednesday.
fourth Wednesday. I'm sorry. See, this is what happens.
Got it.
Yeah. Summer meetings are hard.
Yeah.
But-
I will be on vacation. Would be the 26th of August. I mean, I'll be on vacation, but I'll have internet access, I assume. So I'm
You
fine.
could do the third Wednesday.
Would the 19th be okay for people?
Oh, my dad's birthday.
Oh, never mind.
Or maybe it's my mom's. The 2 days apart.
Your parents
I'm
are pleased
okay.
about it?
I'm okay either way.
Okay.
Yeah, me too, I think.
Yeah, I'm okay with the only problems I might be at a lake house. So let's say the 19th, if that's okay. But if not, I can figure it out. So let's say the 19th.
You can
My
bring your
dad
mom.
probably have his nose in his computer anyway.
What was that?
You can bring your mom, Zach, or your dad.
Oh
There you
yeah.
go.
Yeah, they can be
Yeah,
our
have-
special guest.
Have them join us.
We'll
Tell her
also
to bring
get-
her photo albums.
Oh yeah, I want to see pictures of Zach as a kid for sure.
Yeah.
I do have a quick question before we go. There was talk about doing a neighborhood cleanup this year. Did that end up going anywhere?
I sent an email. I need to follow up because I sent out an email to someone in the city and never heard back. So I need to follow up on that. So I will. Thank you for reminding me. I will work on that.
Yeah, someone dumped a television set at the end of my street. And I can't see any way of it going away without the neighborhood cleanup.
E-waste.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it costs like $10 to dump it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, yeah, you're right. In the city of Portland, it does. I don't know if there's a way to do it. Yeah, there's an easy way to do it free. I don't think there is anything like
I
that.
can throw it in a dumpster.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I've noticed during my day job, doing inspections in a local watershed, I won't say where, but more people are dumping in the typical dumping spots. So it's just something to, yeah, I've noticed that around our neighborhood too.
Yeah, I suppose that's yet another indicator of people having hard times financially, right? So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
all right, folks. Well, thanks. Stay safe and
All right.
enjoy
meeting.
this lovely summer weather.
Awesome. All right. I'll
Yeah.
send you.
Good to see you all. Take care.
All right, thanks.